Caitlin Clark drove into the lane with purpose, scanning the floor for an opening. As she gathered to make a pass, she leapt forward to release the ball, but her momentum carried her straight into a larger defender waiting near the paint. The contact wasn't malicious, but it was solid enough to send Clark flying backward, crashing hard onto the hardwood. For a second, the crowd froze. It wasn't the kind of play that draws a whistle, but it made people wonder whether she'd get back up the same. She didn't stay down long. Still, this wasn't a night where she dominated from start to finish. Her shots didn't fall like usual, and her rhythm came in short bursts. But what unfolded after that fall wasn't about her trying to take over. It was about how her teammates stepped up, how the team found its identity through others, and how Indiana responded when things looked shaky. The moment didn't define Clark, but what came after just might define the fever. The game opened with Indiana leaning on its most reliable duo. Just over a minute in, Caitlin Clark and Aliyah Boston executed a pick-and-roll to perfection. When the defense switched, Boston recognized the mismatch, sealed off the smaller defender, and Clark delivered a pinpoint pass for the easy bucket. Seattle answered quickly. Skylar Diggins showcased her vision with a perfectly timed backdoor bounce pass to Nneka Ogwumike, who finished the layup in stride. Clark made her presence felt again moments later when she poked the ball loose from Seattle's big. Boston scooped it up and pushed it ahead to Clark, who sprinted down court and finished the transition layup. Diggins responded with another strong sequence, driving into the paint, collapsing the defense, and kicking it out to Ogwumike, who buried the open three. But Indiana wasn't slowing down. On the next possession, Clark spotted Boston running the floor. Boston gathered, spun past her defender, and finished at the rim. It was the kind of inside-out chemistry Indiana had been building all season. Diggins continued to push pace, Euro-stepping into the lane for a score. Indiana kept feeding Boston, running her through staggered screens, and Clark found her with a slick bounce pass through traffic. Boston converted again. Seattle came back with a Spain pick-and-roll that freed Diggins for another layup. As the first quarter wound down, Kelsey Mitchell pulled up in transition for a three, and Clark ended the period with her fourth assist, zipping a pass to the corner where Brianna Dantas drained a three. Indiana led 27-24. The second quarter began with Seattle staying aggressive on the boards. Ogwumike's teammate secured a rebound and fed her at the elbow, where she knocked down the mid-range jumper. Indiana answered through Mitchell, who blew by her defender for a layup and then set up Boston for another score off the pick-and-roll. Seattle responded with Ezine Magbegor showing her own vision, finding Ogwumike cutting for an easy bucket. Diggins kept the pressure up with a tough finish in the paint and then assisted Gabby Williams on a high-speed layup. Indiana didn't let up. Sophie Cunningham jump-started a fast break that ended with Mitchell burying another three. Boston kept the inside pressure up, scoring after grabbing an offensive board. Dantas followed with a putback off a missed shot. Mitchell stayed hot, knocking down another three after recovering a loose ball. She had 15 points by halftime, and her shooting was keeping Indiana in control. At the break, Indiana led 45-39, thanks to a balanced attack of inside scoring and perimeter shooting. The third quarter started with a highlight from Clark, who took on Erica Wheeler in isolation. With a slick behind-the-back dribble, she blew by the veteran guard and finished at the rim. Diggins answered, attacking off a handoff and finishing an off-balance layup through contact. She pushed pace again a few plays later, splitting two defenders and scoring over Clark. Mitchell kept Indiana steady, getting a favorable switch and hitting a mid-range jumper just inside the arc. Seattle countered when Wheeler grabbed an offensive rebound and found Diggins wide open beyond the arc. She buried the shot. Clark responded immediately with one of her signature full-court reads, finding Boston in transition with a perfect pass. Boston converted. Diggins came right back, rejecting a screen and scooping in another layup. The game was a back-and-forth battle with moments of brilliance from both teams. Clark and Boston's connection, Mitchell's hot hand, and Diggins' relentless offense set the tone throughout. Though Clark didn't dominate individually, her leadership, vision, and resilience, especially after her hard fall, underscored a team effort that showcased Indiana's depth and potential. This wasn't just about one player. It was about a group learning how to respond, fight back, and grow into something bigger than one moment. Indiana's shooters were locked in as the game progressed. Kelsey Mitchell drove into the lane, collapsed the defense, and kicked the ball out to Lexi Hull in the corner. Hull set her feet and knocked down a confident three-pointer, pushing Indiana's lead back to double digits. The Fever's execution in the pick-and-roll continued to stand out. With less than 3 minutes to go in the third, Mitchell found Aaliyah Boston on the roll again, and the All-Star big muscled through the defense to notch her 20th point of the night. Mitchell wasn't finished either. When no one stepped up in transition, she pulled up and drilled another three, bringing her tally to 23 points and keeping Indiana firmly in control of the game's tempo. As the third quarter wound down, Boston remained dominant inside. She fought for position, spun past her defender, and dropped in a soft hook shot. By the end of the third, Indiana had extended their lead to 75-58, a cushion built on relentless pace, sharp decision-making, and the unstoppable 1-2 punch of Mitchell and Boston. Caitlin Clark wasted no time setting the tone for the fourth. Coming off a screen, she took a couple of controlled dribbles and pulled up just inside the arc, calmly knocking down the mid-range jumper. It was a composed, efficient start that helped stretch Indiana's lead even further. Seattle's Gabby Williams answered on the next possession. Isolated against Sophie Cunningham, she turned her back to the basket, spun into a turnaround jumper, and hit a tough shot despite tight defense. Shortly after, Clark demonstrated her trademark vision once again. Following a quick rebound, she rifled an outlet pass up the sideline to Hull, who used a clever shot fake to get the defender in the air and finished the layup with poise. The long-range connection was just one of many transition plays that punished Seattle throughout the game. Still, the Storm fought to stay in it. Nneka Ogwumike read a pass perfectly, intercepted it cleanly, and went coast to coast for a fast break finish. The momentum shift was short-lived. Skylar Diggins tried to will Seattle back into the game, creating space in a one-on-one matchup with Mitchell and drilling a contested jumper as the shot clock expired. But Indiana answered emphatically. Mitchell, lethal all game, stepped back and buried a deep three, halting any comeback hopes and reasserting control. Minutes later, as the shot clock ticked down again, Boston found herself outside the paint. Unfazed, she attacked the closeout and drove to the basket, finishing strong at the rim.